You think your problem is belief. You think if you could hold the image longer, feel it deeper, speak it louder, reality would bend. That is the story. It sounds spiritual. It sounds empowering. It is also the reason you are stuck. You are trying to persuade reality with words while your nervous system is voting against you with data. Your brain is not resisting your dreams. It is resisting the way you keep trying to force them. Here is the part most people avoid. Your brain cares about prediction more than desire. It is built to reduce surprise, not to reward fantasy. Vision boards and declarations create a temporary spike of possibility, but your predictive machinery does not answer to slogans. It answers to evidence, cost, consequence, and pattern. When you ask for a future that contradicts your lived record, your brain does not get inspired. It treats you as unreliable and tightens control. You have been told that manifestation fails because you doubted. That is a comfortable diagnosis. Doubt is foggy. You cannot measure it. You cannot be held to it. The suppressed reason is sharper. Your brain hears claims that do not line up with past behavior. It flags those claims as a risk. It protects you by suppressing drive, draining focus, and inventing reasons to wait. It is not sabotage. It is homeostasis. It is the free energy principle in practice. Carl Friston's point was simple. Organisms survive by minimizing the gap between what they predict and what they sense. When you demand a leap that your history does not justify, your system reduces the gap the only way it can. It pulls you back. You can call this negative. You can call it limiting. It is simply how a predictive system keeps you alive. The amygdala does not care about your narrative. It cares about the cost of being wrong. Kahneman called it loss aversion. The penalty for a bold error is heavier than the reward for a correct risk. So your brain takes your promises and runs a balance sheet. It asks one question. What is the proof that this claim will not get us punished? If the proof is thin, your body raises cortisol, dampens dopamine, and shrinks your window of tolerance. You feel it as fatigue, distraction, or the sudden need to fix small problems. That is not a curse. That is a defense. There are two identities in this space. One chases stimulation. It wants the feeling of inevitability without the friction of change. It speaks as if new reality is already secured. It keeps consumption high and accountability low. The other submits to an audit. It treats language as a contract with the self. It refuses to say what it cannot back with behavior. It keeps claims small and proof heavy. The first identity attracts attention. The second identity builds outcomes. Only one of them is taken seriously by your nervous system. If this sounds harsh, check your own record. Think about the last bold claim you made to yourself that had no receipts under it. Think about what came next. Procrastination is not random. It rises when your internal cost calculator reads your intention as a liability. Festinger called it cognitive dissonance. You claim a value that your actions do not reflect. The tension has to resolve. You can raise action to match the claim, or you can lower drive to match your past. Your brain usually picks the option with the lowest immediate penalty, so it lowers drive. You feel this as resistance, and you call it a block. It is not a block. It is a correction. Stoics understood this long before neuroscience. Epictetus told his students to focus on what is within their control, not because it is moral, because it keeps the mind coherent. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you must live in truth, not because truth is pretty, because false claims tear you apart from the inside. When your speech and your evidence part ways, you pay with agitation. You can try to soothe it with more talk. You will pay again. There is a deeper layer that makes this worse. You are not only protecting your internal model, you are protecting your social position. Humans are status sensitive. We are tribal. Your brain stores a map of where you stand and who watches. Success is not just gain, it is exposure. Gain moves you into open space. Exposure invites sanctions, rivalry, and tests. Robert Trivers wrote about self-deception as a strategy. If you believe your own soft story, you can transmit it with less cognitive load. You avoid direct tests. You avoid dominance contests you do not think you can win. That is another reason you resist. Your claimed future self would attract attention you are not prepared to handle. So your system keeps you out of the spotlight it thinks will burn you. People who talk about manifesting rarely price the social cost of success. They price the candles and the journals. They do not price the friend who resents you. They do not price the partner who feels left behind. They do not price the way your own family reads your change as betrayal. Your brain does. It runs a quiet simulation and predicts conflict. It predicts the need to set new boundaries. It predicts envy and friction in tests. If your capacity for conflict is low, your brain will choose peace over growth and tell you stories about timing and alignment. It is not spiritual guidance. It is conflict avoidance dressed as wisdom. Secondary gain makes the trap tighter. There are benefits to staying the same that you do not want to admit. You get to criticize risk takers without ever being tested. You get to keep a clean moral image because you never had to compete. You get to be the voice of reason in your circle. You get to stay close to people who need you small. These are not small incentives. They are daily comforts. Your brain weighs them and they win. So you feel a surge of hope on Sunday night and a collapse by Wednesday. Your rituals are not weak. Your incentives are. There is also the issue of distance. The nervous system can stretch, but it has a range where new claims still feel attached to reality. When you reach outside that range, you trigger what clinicians call a break in rapport with the self. Your words stop acting as guidance and start acting as noise. The reticular activating system filters stimuli based on relevance. Relevance is earned by salience and proximity. When your goal is too far, your filter treats reminders as spam. You do not even hear what you say. You repeat it anyway, thinking repetition will brute force a new identity. It will not. It will only increase the gap your brain must close by suppressing attention. History gives you the counterexample. People who transform do not rely on lighter feelings. They signal commitment with cost. Monastic orders used vows and hard rituals to burn false claims. Military selection courses use attrition. Ancient initiations used ordeal. These are not moral tests. They are credibility tests. The brain needs a receipt that says the claim is expensive and controlled. Then it updates the model. Then approach circuits light up and hold. Without that, you keep tasting possibility and crashing into disgust. Your system calls you out as a talker, and your drive shuts you down to protect your identity from further humiliation. Here is the part that feels personal. Your brain has a dossier on you. It knows how many times you said you would change. It knows how you fold when pressure rises. It knows the exact pivot point where your language decouples from action. You can dislike that, or you can accept that your nervous system has learned you. If you want it to back you, you have to become a different case study. Not louder, different. Nietzsche wrote about becoming who you are. People quote that as permission to self-express. He meant something colder. He meant you gather your drives under a single aim. You become a person whose promises predict behavior. You do not chant that identity into being. You forge it under a constraint. You limit your speech to what you will do. Over time, your brain trusts you. It releases energy because you are not a hazard to your own reputation. That is the inner power most people try to fake with language. It cannot be faked because the audience that matters is inside your skull. There is a technical layer here that helps. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. It is a prediction chemical. It marks the gap between expected reward and actual reward. When you set claims you cannot match, you trigger a series of negative prediction errors. Your system learns that your own promises predict pain, so it reduces dopamine release when you think about your goals. You feel numb when you talk about your future. You think you lost belief. You did not. You trained your brain to associate your words with loss. You can reverse that. Not with grander claims, with claims that resolve as wins. Your system will learn that thinking about the future predicts competence, not humiliation. Then drive returns because approach is finally safe. Prospect theory helps here too. People overweight losses. Your brain protects you against the pain of losing current identity and current bonds. You say you want abundance. You want it without grief. You want it without friction. You want it without conflict. So you build a theory that removes cost. You call it alignment. You call it flow. When cost appears, you call it a sign to stop. You are not reading signs. You are rationalizing. Seneca warned about this. He said we suffer more in imagination than in reality. He was not telling you to avoid planning. He was telling you to stop worshiping fear dressed as caution. The flattened truth is simple. Your brain resists manifestation because you try to substitute conviction for credibility. You make unpriced claims. You expect your system to fund them. It does not. It refuses because that refusal kept your ancestors alive. It refuses because your track record is loud. It refuses because your social world still punishes tall poppies. It refuses because the distance between your fantasy and your proof would break coherence. The refusal is rational. It is protective. It will not change because you cry. It will change when you adjust the conditions it responds to. This is where people ask for a tactic. That is not what this is. You already know the tactic and you ignore it. The human-animal updates based on consequence and credible signal. You cannot sneak past this with positive language. You cannot hack it with a playlist. You become a person your system trusts, or you keep paying the crash tax. There is no third path. Even religion prices commitment. Even markets price risk. Even friendships price reciprocity. Why would your own nervous system be the one domain where price does not apply? Machiavelli said it plainly. Fortune is kinder to the prepared. He did not mean fate. He meant opportunity rewards those who create capacity first. The mind works the same way. You create capacity, and possibility attaches. If you flip that order, possibility laughs and leaves. That is the suppressed reason. The industry that sells you hope cannot say it. They would have to admit that most of their products are anesthesia. Cheap feeling now, expensive hangover later. There is a quiet disgust that builds when you live on words. You notice it when you avoid your own journal. You notice it when you stop telling people your plans because you do not want to hear yourself say it again. Disgust is a signal, not to surrender your aim, to stop disrespecting it, to stop flooding your mind with declarations you will not honor, to end the tax on your own credibility. People think shame is the enemy. Chronic shame is corrosive. Acute shame is medicine. It tells you the truth. You are misusing language. You can keep doing it. Or you can place your words under control and let your system calm down. Power is not a feeling. Power is alignment between claim and conduct. The world senses it. You sense it. Your brain rewards it with focus and stamina. It punishes its absence with drag. Jung hinted at this when he spoke about individuation. The parts of you stop fighting when they no longer have to cover for each other's lies. The conflict drops. Energy rises. That looks like magic to the outside. It is simple physics on the inside. Most people will not accept this. They will double down on spectacle. They will say that reality bends to certainty. Reality bends to leverage. Certainty without leverage is delusion. Leverage comes from credibility, capacity, and timing. That combination is rare because it takes patience. You can chase the next feeling like everyone else. Or you can become one of the quiet few who stop leaking power through speech and build a mind the body believes. You do not need permission to do this. You need refusal. Refusal to say what you will not do. Refusal to confuse stimulation with progress. Refusal to treat your nervous system as an obstacle instead of an ally. It is not your enemy. It is your guard. If you show it that you can hold the line, it will open the gate. Here is the pivot. The same mechanism that resists you can be used to carry you. Predictive brains love reliable patterns. Give it a pattern where your words and outcomes are tightly linked. It will front-load motivation for you. It will surface cues that support your aim. It will filter out distractions without a fight. The reticular system will stop tagging your goals as noise. Noradrenaline will shift from panic to alertness. You will feel it as clarity that lasts, not ecstasy, quiet conviction, the kind that holds under heat. That is why the path looks empty. It is not glamorous enough to sell at scale. There are no fireworks. There is repetition and proof. There is identity earned in daily decisions. There is prestige that no one can take because it lives in your nervous system, not in comments. The market cannot counterfeit that. It can only distract you from it. If you are hearing this, you have two options and only one of them is honest. You can return to the comfort of belief-first narratives and keep feeding your prediction system with sugar and noise. Or you can accept that your brain is strict for a reason and decide to be the kind of person it trusts. If you choose the second path, understand what you are joining, not a trend, a minority. People who treat the mind like a contract. People who do not waste speech. People who would rather be underestimated in public and overfunded by their own nervous system. If you want to be in that group, act like you already are in the way that matters. Not with slogans. With the standard you hold for your own language. This channel will keep speaking to that standard. It is not for everyone. It is for the ones who would rather be dangerous to their old life than safe inside a lie. If that is you, stay. Listen again. Stop arguing with your guard and give it a reason to open the door. The rest will feel like manifestation. It will not be. It will be credibility, finally compounded.